Hey guys, it is Saturday here on Pagan Perspective. I am your Saturday host Brendan, and this week we are talking about connection with nature. So our question this week comes from Kristen B, and they thank us for everything that we've provided on the channel. They've been watching for the last couple of years, and then their question is really about they struggle to connect to nature. So they find that they don't really feel anything when they try to ground and have attempted to work with plants several times without success. They're allergic to pollen and tend to love winter and fall the best. Other than trees, they feel like there is a sort of block or numbness to their connection to nature. My pagan friends, she says, can talk for hours about their gardens and I feel out of place. Do any of you have any blocks like this, or do you have any suggestions for getting rid of mine? Okay. This is something that I love and adore because I do a lot of work with gardening, planting, all that sort of stuff. So for me personally, I've never really had an issue with creating that connection. I have a plethora of indoor and outdoor plants, ranging from like succulents to ferns to lavender, rosemary, aloe vera, some annuals and all that sort of stuff, so like daffodils and irises that only flower every year from a bulb, to passion fruits, to a whole bunch of different things outside and inside as well. And have been doing, like, for the longest of time, grounding was something that was a strange experience for me because I'm such a kind of, can be like a high energy, run high energy as well kind of person. I never really enjoyed doing grounding because it felt like it really dropped and sunk me. It was kind of like me being this floating balloon and it was a rock that just instantly weighed me down. But as I've developed my practice more and worked with energy more and developed who I am and realized that I can't constantly run at high energy, that I'll just burn myself out, is when I really started to explore grounding more. And it was when it started to be brought to me in a way of grounding as a way to connect to the natural energies around us, so that instead of burning through our own energies for spell crafting, for rituals, for trance, energetic work, all that sort of stuff, we can connect to the energy that is in the environment around us and feed that into the energy that we also produce within our bodies, so it creates this marriage of energy that we can use to help change the world. So that way, the things that we're doing in ourselves are reflected in nature, which is then reflected into the world. And so what we do, like within a ritual space, touches and changes the world around us. Kara spoke in her video about the technique that we taught to the Elements of Magic people at Tejas Witch Camp last year, which is about creating a grounding stone, which is really one of my solid practical techniques that I use in ritual work, is really having like a tool set of different things that can provide instant experiences or instant connections that when I'm either energetically frazzled or like mentally or physically frazzled, I already have these preset and pre-created ritual tools and items and devices that I can use to then return myself to a state of normal, I guess would be the term, or a state of, like Kara spoke about the grounding stones that we created. I've often created like circles within boxes or in bags, that sort of thing, so I can carry those around. I might have like a grounding stone in there, some elemental representations. I used to carry around like a little circle pouch that had a pentacle stitched on the inside of it that an old covermate and friend of mine created. And when I unfolded that is when I would unfold Sacred Space. And then I would place the different items out to represent the elements, the connections that I had within there. So it was kind of like a pre-established, pre-created ritual and sacred space within this little bag that I could carry around. But that's a sidetrack, and we're talking about grounding here and connection to nature. So you talk about in your little question and statement about an allergy with pollen. I have a plethora of different allergies, from like animals to dust to particular plants, a couple of different little food allergies, that sort of thing. But I found that, like, I can take medications for that, and as much as I don't like to, if it gets severe enough, I will. Or otherwise, I'll just, like, deal with the discomfort and disease that comes with that. But often, what I've also found is, like, a stronger, healthier relationship with food and with my body has meant that my reactions have been less and have been softened and are much more bearable. So, like, what Megan was talking about, really about connecting to the food we're eating. So, I think also Kara spoke about it, and I think Yaka touched on it as well in their videos about really the foods that we're ingesting is part of nature. Looking at, like, fruits, vegetables, the meats, the grains, all that sort of stuff is part of nature. But we live in, like, a society where we've disconnected from that so much that it's become more of a nature-us sort of dynamic. And it's really, as we moved into cities, we're not harvesting and reaping our own crops, we're not growing any of that sort of stuff, we don't sow our own seeds. But it's changing that, and it's really about reconnecting to soil, reconnecting to rocks, to stones, to the landscape around us. I do a lot of, like, observational seasonal pieces where I will go around, and for us right now we're about to head into Beltane, so I've noticed that the beautiful jacaranda trees all around Brisbane have started flowering, so the sea of purple has started to flood through, which is the seasonal shift for us from spring, like winter into spring, and then spring is already shifting kind of more into summer. So even, like, observing daylight, so, like, the sun's coming up earlier for us and it's setting later for us, so we're getting into that point where there is that seasonal shift. And it was just looking for the little bit of nature in every day that has kind of connected me more with nature. And there's multiple grounding techniques that I could recommend. There's always the good old trusty tree of life, which is about dropping our roots into the ground, spreading our branches into the sky, connecting to that energy from those, finding that middle ground between, and really connecting that within ourselves. I work a lot with, like, iron energies, so coming from stardust, that we're all made of stardust. I connect to the fiery star within the core of the earth, and I'll connect to the celestial stars above us, and have those two fires, so that cosmic fire and that really terrestrial fire from earth, come up, connect to the fire that's within me, so the stardust that's within my body, and those three energies merge, and then that is what really grounds and aligns me in my practice and work. It's really about exploring what works for you. So you might have a strong connection with stones, so you might have particular stone allies that will be more relevant and prevalent in your practice. You might be more connected to wood. You were saying that you connect with trees. Perhaps looking at different woods and their properties. So you might create, like, a set of ogum. I'm probably butchering that word, but it's kind of the, like, I would say, like, in a similar family to runes, but it comes from, like, more the Celtic background. Danny would be able to talk about this a lot more than I would be. I just know of it through friends and connections, but it has, each different wood has different representations. So maybe it's looking at that. You might be able to connect with a particular tree that you find grounding. I like what Rich said about bringing a plant in and connecting to it. Like, bamboo is great for that. Any succulent's really great for that and doesn't require a lot of care or anything like that. There's plethoras of flowers that you could work with that don't create pollen allergies or reactions within the body. A lot of the other hosts have mentioned, like, root vegetables, which are really great and foundational in grounding work. For me, food is part of that nourishing grounding work that we go through. So whenever I'm a bit frazzled, I know, and I've been eating, like, pretty much junky, like, pre-prepared foods, I kind of go back to those restorative harvesty feasts. So lots of potatoes and garlic, include, like, some tomatoes, onions, like, throw in a bit of chili in that here, like, things that are really, like, hearty and just kind of good for the body and good for the soul. And then also looking at animal realms. They're very much included in nature. Birds, cats, dogs, lizards, reptiles. Like Yoka mentioned, our body is essentially it is a walking, breathing, living habitat for all these sorts of bacteria that are within our bodies and all sorts of other things. Like, we can't escape nature, even hiding ourselves in these buildings, because nature is in our bloods. Like, it's pulsing through our body, for we are the embodiment of nature, the elements of earth, air, fire, and water, and spirit, married into this fleshy human experience. Divine human animals, as it's often referenced within Reclaiming. And we are nature itself, so it's really what's holding you back from connecting to yourself is what I'd like to ask. And I don't know if that's something you're going through. Maybe there's a blockage that's holding you back from connecting to a deeper part of yourself. It might be fear, it might be anxiety, you could be under a lot of stress right now. It might be that you're just perhaps pushing too hard. Maybe step back what you're doing and simplify the process. The KISS option, keep it simple, stupid, as they like to say. Maybe look at that. Spend some days just doing things for yourself and doing stuff for your body. So it might be looking at doing, like, just going for a walk, whether it be going to a gym and using a treadmill, it might be going outside and having a walk, it might just be exploring where you live a bit more. How are you sleeping? Maybe look at that. Like, what are these things that are really helping, well, hindering you from really connecting deeper to yourself and deeper to your practice? And a lot of that can be there as well. Like, fear is often something that will hold us back from deeper connections. And I don't know how long you've been practicing for or what the path is that you practice, but are you afraid of going further, deeper? I want to say further, deeper, harder. But it's like taking on those challenges that come with practice and with experience and with time and development. And maybe it's time to step forward. Maybe you're going through an initiatory process, which are difficult and challenging and can shake the boat and can screw us up, and like our connections to everything can be a bit frazzled and we really question who we are. Maybe go back and look at the topic we did, I think it was a few months ago now, about like the dark night of the soul and what that is about questioning our practices, because maybe you're going through something like that. But yeah, I think in summary what I can really say is take a breath for yourself. Look at where you are in your practice. Look at your connection with the world around you currently. What can you change that can help you deepen your relationship with yourself, with nature, with the environment around you, with those creatures of stone, of bone, of branch, of flesh, of water, of air, of cells, of bacteria, of all that sort of stuff. Extend out and explore, and just really don't let those hindrances that are holding you back be the only reason that you don't connect further. But challenge yourself, take that step beyond that door. And yeah, like you said, you connect more to winter and fall. It is that time of renewal, of shedding, of going into dormancy. Maybe it is that time for you to start taking stock of what you have, what you know, what you've been through and experienced, and really putting that into deeper practice, unpacking it all and creating something new out of it, or going into an older practice, or going into a discipline, in a sense, that will then develop and challenge and deepen your work. I think that's it for this week. I really loved this topic that came up because it was something that's close and dear to my heart. If you do have any more questions, post them in the comment section below, and when I can and see them, I will get back to them. I'll probably now have a topic about grounding that I should be putting up on my own channel, so I have a few days off, so I'm going to go through and film a few more videos for that and put them up on my own personal channel, so keep an eye out for that. I'll leave the links to that in the bottom section. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful, fantastic rest of your weekend. I will see you in a week's time. So for now, much love and blessings.